But guys, if you want to keep that connection, and it's really important, then you have to talk to the woman. And I always have that one thing, is there more? That's the key question, because there always is more.
That's like crack, yeah, for the woman.
Did you push record?
Thanks so much for joining us again today on Our Second Act with Paige and Silka. And I want to welcome Frank Wiegers back for another segment today on creating sizzling sex after 50. Frank, thanks for joining and staying over.
Hey, you're welcome. Good to be back, and I always look forward. This is one of my favorite things to talk about.
By way of introduction again, Frank and his wife Judith run Top Gun Love, which is a love, sex, and relationship practice. And one of their favorite things, as Frank just said, to talk about is creating sizzling sex after 50. So that's what we want to focus on today, is getting in that mindset. How do we create sizzling sex after 50 when maybe our mindset isn't there?
Well, we call it Top Gun Love because we want to be top lovers. And everybody, to be a Top Gun pilot, you have to study and practice constantly. So we treat our sex life like a practice. And it's a spiritual practice, and it's something like practicing the piano. It's something you do because you love to play the piano. So we love to play sex. And, after 50, when the hormones have diminished significantly, oftentimes the desire is just not there. We look at each other, we designate Sunday as our day of worship, and that's when we create our sexual intimacy. We use that as a sacrament. And, sometimes I go, you know what, I could just soon watch Formula One on TV. It's go make love. But we have this ceremony that we do, and we go through this ritual. And once we get our clothes off and we start this ritual and we get into bed and we start touching each other, the oxytocin starts flowing. And I don't know, we talk a lot about that in our book, so that's why they do that, men, women, and their hormones. But oxytocin is the bonding hormone. And for men, when the nerves go down from the brain down into the pelvis and come out in the pelvis, when we create oxytocin, it actually goes down that thing and gives us an erection and actually keeps it that way. And here I am in my 80s, and I look down and go, how am I doing that? And it is the hormones, and it's not the testosterone, it's the oxytocin. So oftentimes when we could take it or leave it about having sex, but once we get started and we get in bed, we go, oh, wow, this is really, and then we have this fantastic experience. And afterwards, we're cuddling and looking at each other and go, why don't we do this more often? Because it feels so great. And it's really what makes it great is the connection. And it's all about creating the connection, which starts way before you get into the bedroom. And we have these rituals that we do to stay connected emotionally and mentally as well as physically, because I never walk by Judith without touching her. I mean, I either run my hand, if she's sitting at the table and I'm going by, I'll run my hand across her back. If we're sitting on the couch watching TV, we're holding hands. If we're driving down the street or walking down the street, we're holding hands. We do everything we can to stay physically connected. And then we do the morning worship where we tell each other how much we worship each other and how much we love each other. And it sounds repetitive, and it is, but it doesn't matter what you're saying. It's the fact that you're there looking into her eyes or she's looking into my eyes, expressing love. And that creates the connection, which is what creates the bond, which is what creates the sizzling sex and what makes us happy. Is that making sense?
Absolutely. So really the advice you would give to a couple, especially in a long-term marriage, we've talked about that a lot, there's with this divorce rate over 50 now and et cetera, you lose the connection. You're ignoring each other, and you're saying make a conscious effort to always
you have to create it. Absolutely. This is something that we work at to create every day. We do, besides the morning ritual, we'll come home and at night we're having supper and talk about our day in great detail. What did you do today? Where did you go? Who did you see? Where did you have lunch? on, just, and the idea isn't so much the information, although that can be important because it's important to know what's going on in each other's life and be interested in that. But it's the connection, and that's so important for men to understand about women, because when women are in conversation, they're generating oxytocin, and that generates norepinephrine, serotonin, all those other chemicals that make her feel good. So men, not so much. It doesn't matter that much to men. They don't respond that way. But guys, if you want to keep that connection, and it's really important, then you have to talk to the woman. And a lot of times it's more listening than talking. But the idea is that you're engaged. You're looking in her eyes and listening to what she's saying and nodding her head. And I always have that one thing, is there more? That's the key question, because there always is more.
That's like crack, yeah, for the woman. Well, in talking to other relationship experts, one of the things, they also say is that the woman needs to understand that the man needs cave time or quiet time. Do you need cave time and quiet time or alone time?
Absolutely, I do. And both Judith and I are meditators, so that's part of it. But I also, I have my Formula One addiction. I like to watch Formula One racing. I also like to watch Indy cars, NASCAR not so much, but I raced cars when I was a young, crazy young fighter pilot, and I always had to keep the adrenaline flowing. So
when you talk about, when you're describing that every night you're at dinner and you talk a lot, and I can see several couples or friends, and even in my relationship, where that's like the last thing the guy wants is to talk. It's like, oh God, I had a hard day at work and I'm over it. Just leave me alone.
Well, there is that transition phase that when you come home from work, for a lot of people, they need to just chill and just regroup, and whatever that takes. It might take some downtime just to isolate and reconnect with yourself. And actually, that's a great time to meditate. But however you do that. But then once you sit down at the table and open up to be connected, then you'd be surprised how enlivening that actually is.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I'm big fans of you and Judith and what you've created and how open you are and how much hope you give everybody. There's lots of living and loving and sex after 50, 60, 70 and beyond, as you're well proving. Frank, we're coming to the end of our segment. What would you like to leave our viewers with when it comes to creating sizzling sex after 50?
Well, the biggest step is to make it happen. Just say, okay, we're going to do this. Let's get naked and get in bed and do what we can do. And it's just all about that. And don't be concerned about the results. Just be concerned about the connection, especially the physical and the spiritual connection. So you're connected to your partner, and that's the most important thing, is just to get in there and take the time, set the time, and say, you know what, we're going to do this, and just do it.
Well, we're going to link to all of your information to your book, which gives some great advice on how to create that connection, as well as some of the past videos we've done. Like I said, we've always loved talking to you. So we'll see you soon again on another episode of Our Second Act with Paige and Silka. So glad you were able to join us today. Frank is always so fun to talk to. For more information about sizzling sex after 50, please visit our website, secondact.tv. And if you haven't already done so, please just take 1 second to subscribe to our channel. Button's right over here. Thank you.